At the end of class on Tuesday, a couple of people were having trouble getting the L21 text uploading and operating correctly. Felix pointed out that he was having the most trouble with getting it to recognize the column. I realized I wrote something in my notes, even underlined it, forgot to save it. That's stupid. So I apologize to all of you, but once you've uploaded your file into Excel, you've brought in the text, you've got all that data there. Convert it to a table. If it isn't in table format, then Power BI won't necessarily recognize this table, won't know the column headers or the column headers. And that should alleviate that piece of issue. Now, fortunately for us, once you have a data file, share Excel. So here's the data file from L21. What you can do is simply grab the entire section we want and go to Insert Table and tell it, oh yeah, convert that data to a table and make sure that box is checked for the headers. Because that piece of it it's going to overlap ranges. Yes, I want to do it anyway. Now I've got it in table format. This should help the uploads into Power BI to operate correctly. So, with that in mind, let's go back to Power BI. Again, using our Microsoft Office.com, go to Office.com, log in there, and get to all the apps. And if you have to hit it twice, you can start with that one in the lower left corner. Click on that. Then there should be a list of some of the apps. Make sure you're using the set from the top row, not the second row. When I go to apps, all apps, the ones down here in this second section, those are the Copilot enabled versions. I don't want to use those. I want to use the manual versions. Need the stuff. The top row, if Power BI is not listed there, click on the all apps and you can launch it from here. If you don't see it here, upper right, get more apps. Acquire Power BI at that point. So if I'm working in this, here is, again, I'm back in my workspace with all the stuff I've already done. Let's go back to lesson 21. If you haven't already uploaded that file, let's go back and do that again. But if you have, you should be able to get to this report. We were talking about the heat map done under the matrix setup. That's that left visual. And we could color code that in any fashion we wanted. And what that does under our visual here matrix, it builds us the pivot table that we recognize from Excel and then allows us to color code it with the effect. But I'm looking at this data that we created, and it's got time series data in it. It's got January and February. So I could ask, how are sales progressing over time? How is our store doing in terms of time? And when I do that, I need to make sure that my data is brought in the appropriate date format so that I can get the trend lines to work. Now, I have a problem with this data. Let me go back and look at the data file again. Region month sales. I added a column called month code. Why did I do that? Why is this extra column going to help me fix something that is broken in this visual? Even just looking at the matrix on the left, there's something wrong in my eyes with the way this is set up. What's the problem? Goes February, January. Why does it do that? Why does the computer go February, January? There's the data file with my extra column added. So if I hide that, that's what we saw the first time. Why is the matrix writing February, January? I promise the answer is simpler than you think. Alphabetical order. The computer's stupid. It doesn't recognize those as dates. It recognizes those as text, as words. So if I want to make sure it does January before February, that's why I've inserted this, because then those will be in numerical order. And if I change the data file to show, now you'll notice this is the old data file. It only shows month, region, and sales. It doesn't show month code. I have to upload the new version with the month code added to be able to flip that. This is particularly important if I look at this line chart I've created. Over here on the right, I've got 4 lines. And it shows sales by month and region. So notice down here in our build visual, I've got the y-axis being sum of sales, and the legend being region. That's why it broke it up into separate ones. The x-axis is month. If I look at that, I think sales went down in the South. My problem is that that's ass backwards. This is wrong, but it's because our field was recognized as text, not as data. So I have to make sure that I'm cleaning my data appropriately to make sure I have good values to work with. I decided this was insufficient. There's not enough information here for me to really get good information in terms of a line chart. So I put up a new Excel sheet for you on Canvas. If you go back to our Canvas page, you'll see copy of a data file labeled Civic my MPG. I'd like you to download that. This should be the file in Excel if you open it directly. Once you've downloaded it, it's already a table. But I'm a numbers guy. I mean, seriously, I teach in this course. I better do something with numbers. I bought a car 12 years ago, October 25th, 2014. Brand new car, 13 miles on it. This is my fuel record for the past 12 years. Every time I filled the car, I write down how much I put in with the MPG. It's calculated automatically. Check my odometer reading, reset the odometer the trip odometer every time. This is 12 years worth of data. Put this in Power BI. When you upload this to Power BI, don't forget to do the transform data. Even if you don't actually do any transformation, just open the transform data so it does the appropriate pre-processing, so that when you save and create a report, you'll see in the table all of the appropriate sigmas and dates and other things. If it doesn't recognize the information properly, we won't be able to do any work. I got a lot of information here. I'm going to create just a table so I can see the table again here in Power BI. So on a blank report, click on the table icon next to our matrix and add date first. When you add date first, you'll notice it puts it in hierarchical order. Year, quarter, month, day. If you don't care about quarter, you can remove it. I'm not personally going to care about quarter, but it might be useful if you're doing quarterly tax returns for a company to allocate fuel usage by quarter. I might want to know this. I might be able to do my expenditures. Yes, just include table 1. The other 2 pieces are images that I want you to have in Excel so we can compare the images we make here with the images we make in Excel. So I left those images there. I got lots of information. So I heard on the radio this morning that gas prices have gone up 60 cents in the last 2 weeks. Because of all of the trouble in the Middle East at the moment, because of the war, the Straits of Hormuz are closed, there's not enough oil coming in, gas prices went up, the price of oil went up, all of this stuff. I want to know how it compares. Let's look at 12 years of gas prices. Build me a line chart. What I've got here is a line chart where date goes into x-axis. Again, I just left all the date flags up, so it would stretch all the way across. And the y-axis is price per gallon, which I literally just read off of the receipt that they give me at the gas station. So here's an interesting set of pictures. Because this data starts in 2014, all the way over here on the left, with gas a little bit above $3 a gallon, and falling until here, and bottomed out at this point. Now, I know in Excel, if I float over my visual, I can look at particular things on it. Well, the same is true in Power BI. If I'm sitting on 2016, February 2016, that's $1.87 a gallon. You'll notice we haven't seen gas prices like that since. What's this? What happened there? Historical data time. What's that telling me? Gas is almost $4.50 by that point in time. What's going on there? $4.35. This is the data analysis part of keeping up with data. Somebody's going to look and go, what the hell happened to your gas prices there? What happened to my gas prices there? If it were inflation, I would expect inflation to continue in that vein, right? Float over it. When is this? And what happened? The Straits of Hormuz were closed. The Russian pipelines were closed. Gas went through the freaking roof. If I back up a bit, there's my other low points, right? 225. Then there's a little bit of a spike here. And then it drops back down again. Why is this drop occurring? May of 2020. Everybody was home for COVID. Nobody was going anywhere. Gas was cheap because nobody used it. All the shipping prices, everybody was stuck. They're not using the fuel. Fuel gets cheaper. Then all of these causes. Now, I chose this set of data so that I could try and do some longer term analysis. If I go back to our L21 data, if I try to do some analysis on this line chart, it's going to fail. Under our visuals, when I click on the visual for the line chart, there's this magnifying glass here on the right. That magnifying glass is labeled analytics. It allows me to include trend line analysis like we do in Excel. I can build a trend line. Now, the problem with building the trend line this way, it's February and January backwards, it's not going to help me very much. But I can look at minimums and maximums, medians, averages, percentiles. I need to have a sufficient amount of time data to do this properly. If forecasting is available, it would be here, under error bars above anomalies. But I don't have enough time data in this case to do that trend line analysis. That's why I gave you the gas mileage. Because if I switch to that, this line chart should have. Let me get rid of this other piece of garbage here. Oh, I need to be in edit mode. Rid of this other piece. Go back to the line chart. There we go. There's my forecastability. I can now ask, give me a trend line. Let's do that statistical analysis and let's see if, Carson, can I actually make a forecast about inflationary pressure on gas prices given the variability I see in this trend? Can I find a median? Can I create other options? So if I go to forecast here and I turn that on, average line trend line at the top, turn the trend line on. Oh, there we go. That's my opinion of gas prices in the past 12 years. If this continues, I could now say, let's examine the equation, let's do some forecasting on this and see if we can find out what's going on. But down here, forecast line, how far do I want to go out? Match series interpreted. I can create a confidence interval. All of these pieces can now be done in Power BI, just like we did them in Excel. My confidence interval can surround this trend line. Options,
Forecast line. Let's make the forecast line a different color. Don't know why I'm not getting the forecast line to come up. I have not done a lot with forecasting in Power BI. And because of that, and because the original set of data I gave you didn't have forecastability on it, I decided that in our Canvas page, I would link to the analytics page for Power BI. If you're interested in doing more forecasting in Power BI, that's where the explanations are. I have not done very much of it in there. Questions so far? Yes, sir. So what graph did you get? An M. All right, so let's make a new page and walk through it again. I click on line. I'm opening up my table. I'm going to put date on the x-axis. And then I put price. Looks like that, right? So what's going on here? I remember that I had to do, what did I have to do on price per gallon? There was a summary or not summary I had to do. Click. Sum of price per gallon, date. All of them, date. Yes, sir?
I started like that.
Uh-huh.
I just went to date. I clicked X on all those and then brought it back like that, put it back down.
That's weird. Like I said, I've been using Power BI for all of 3 weeks. I'm learning right along with you, people. That's neat. A little freaky, but we'll have to figure this out. But now I could add other pieces of data. If instead of just looking at price, I could look at miles per gallon. This is telling you per tank how I drove. Whether I was efficient or inefficient, notice ranges from 27-ish up to about 38, 39. But that's really choppy data, isn't it? What affects your mileage? Well, city driving versus highway driving, long distance driving, short distance, stop and go, all that stuff. You could try and smooth this data by adding in some sort of average over time, maybe a floating average. You could say, okay, I don't just want each tank, I want you to take the average of the last 10 tanks. Notice how much smoother that looks. So you can now compare data in different ways.
And again, I could filter by some particular criteria. Maybe I want to take out summers. After all, I'm not working here during the summer, so I'm not driving as much. And I'm doing all of my driving in town by home. So maybe that would make a change. I could filter the data differently. We had filters optional. There's a whole column there of filters. I could change the quarters and then omit. Well, I'd probably want to omit second quarter and keep third quarter. Changes the data quite a bit, doesn't it? So I can go through and create filters. Maybe rather than filtering by quarter, I should filter by month. Because I'm not here in June. Wait, let's do select all and then remove June and July and August. Hey, it smoothed out the data quite a bit, didn't it? I'm not usually here those months. It's going to change the way I drive. So there are lots of options for you to play with here. Sometimes you might say, well, I want to have a summary visual in one place, and I want to be able to link it to a deeper explanation. You'll notice that plus at the bottom of the page, how I can create a new page. I can go to some other page where I've built something else. And I've got a new visual on this page. Maybe I want to link this to the chart so that somebody could click on the chart and jump to this. In my filters page, if I click on this visual, there's nothing in the visual, but notice down here. In the column that says visualizations, there's a drill through field. So let's say drag a field to the drill through fields in the filters page. Drill through fields. Filters, filters, drill through. Click. Let's drag date to drill through. What happened in the upper left corner? In the upper left corner, I just got a return arrow. See it? If I'm in a page and I drill through to something, now let's go back to the first page. And I'm going to select a visual. And if I hover over something, there's my drill option. I can return back and forth between different spots, whether I'm drilling down or drilling up. If we do this in our L21 data, don't save. We could edit any of the visuals we see here to have a drill through page attached to them. So maybe I want to look at something more specific in the region. There's an L22 file. Let's go grab that. Grab that and import it. Again, this is going to be a fairly small data file. Notice our date codes here are actual dates rather than just January and February. So if I want to make a line chart, the dates will show up in proper order. Create. You use the Excel and then upload the file that you've taken from text to Excel. So what I did is I built a second page. My first page, I simply created a couple of visuals to work with. And then I created a second page that had some more visuals that are slightly different. You could, depending on the type of data you have, create any visuals you want here. But then I said, this is where I want to do the drill through. So you'll notice down here, page 1, edit mode. In one of my visuals, second page, I've added the drill through region. That's what created the arrow in the upper left corner. I dragged region down here. And then, when I'm in this one, if I pick something to hover over, it drills through by region. Regardless of which visual I'm in, that drill through shows up. And when I click on it, it jumps me to region details. And automatically takes me to that, with that region highlighted. Or in this case, that product highlighted. And then if I click up here, it takes me back. This allows for more interactivity in my dashboard and allows my report to be movable. This is better in the paid version. It's better in the desktop version than it is in the web version, but it works, in my opinion, fairly well to all of these. Questions? So again, if I am thinking of the ways in which I want to present data using this instead of using Excel, you had a histogram in the last process, right? You built a histogram for me on customer satisfaction, no, customer rating. And that was part of what you turned in. But now I could make that more appealing. I could add the data behind it so people could drill to it. I can rearrange the data I've got. I recommend planning out what you want to show people in advance. In the Excel file for the mileage, I said there were two other pictures. There's gas mileage. And there's the gas prices done in Excel. Exactly the same picture we got in Power BI. I happen to think the Power BI picture was a little nicer. Just a little. But we could plan out what we wanted to show in advance of actually jumping in and starting to manipulate the data. Once you've got your data, you've cleaned it, you've made sure it's formatted properly. That's where that month code issue comes into play. I didn't know it was going to do those as text and recognize them as January, February alphabetically rather than in month order. So I had to add a new code. The fewer items you have on any given dashboard, the cleaner it looks, the nicer it appears. Make the colors or setups in your heat map, your matrix, make it meaningful. I chose green for money. My choice. You need to pick up what you want to do with it. If you've got projectability, I don't have enough data in this file to project forward. Gas mileage, I should. Do it if you can, if it's useful information. Do you honestly think that I can forecast gasoline prices based on the past 12 years worth of data? I'd be rich if I could do that. If you want to have slicers and filters, like I've got buttons down here at the bottom, I can click on those to create different views and usability. Again, I can command multiple selections with my slicers. If you've got data that's got more details people want to look through, design a drill through. So that you can say, well, somebody goes, I need more information. Click, here it is. What other information do you want? And especially during presentations, don't be afraid to go through and say, I don't have that, let's make it. Because these are editable on the web live. Questions? You all look at me like I'm the most boring thing on the face of the planet today. I'm sorry that the cold shut your brains off and you don't care. Sorry. But that is my versions of all of the presentations on Power BI, which means you should start looking at how to do this on your own. This is the task associated to this module in module 4, assignment 4.1 and 4.2. You should take track of this. We've got another 30 minutes if you want to stay here and do this now. We're going to work on this today. We're going to work on this on Tuesday as well. So I'm going to put this completely in your court. You can stay here and work on this for the rest of this class period. Or you wait and do it on Tuesday. It's up to you guys. Go to. I need to get the other Excel page.
There it is right there.
I'm more than willing to wander around and answer whatever questions you've got specific to your Power BI issues as well. Otherwise,
Let's go to town.
Okay, that was probably from one of the first. So, if you know, I don't have. That's a lot of green. Yeah. Yeah, give me more five. He's so weird stuff. I was wrong. Yeah, I'm like, you know, yeah. He did that, but I'm finished. You did it really. And we were at I don't know, it's good. Now what? You don't understand stuff. I don't know. I'm Friday. Yo, Jalen, are you trying to be a receiver coach? Yeah. You know, are you close up today? In the school teacher. Well, he's gonna be especially he wanted to be in those two.
He told us it doesn't take second. Well, he said, I just can't take second. Yeah, I would.
That's what you do.
You know ball. Alright, and put a. I don't know, I put it on pretty, yeah, yeah. A little bit of. Oh, wow. You are, you're like, okay, here's the civic. This is my problem.
Click on the tape.
I don't, like, they enjoy that.
It'll take a few minutes. Once it pulls up. I don't know.
So you got that, the others. No, we got this. The stout. Horrible. The West Coast, he wants to pass. He's gonna go on. But he's never played. He's outside.
Short, really short, shorter than long. Short is going for us 3 days. Because that's where Felix is, he's on the same place. But no, but he says no, how about us if we huddle that? You don't, we huddle it good, but that's. But it's like. I mean, you'll have to mess up, but it was. I tell them thing that's coming. Oh. We, multi-really constitute crisis that and certain moments, like. And that's the same system. It seems probably our staff on this other name. Like he said, like NFL. So you say a word, let's either like alpha, delta, or gets on it goes. He says set, but it goes to none. Well, hey, you say it's not me. Set, but then the next round you don't say that he set, you just have set. When it happens like that, it's like something bleeding. So we move back. They're like you said, we're. So that was it one before? That's not it. Yeah, that's what we want to say. There were days Power BI does stuff. I do that on the time. And then really bad. So our plays or you get the call. Color. And then play the huddle, so the color is the only this is color that is like blue, or instead of blue. So blue means they were actually down there, that's not pretty stuff, flashing here. They would have a dummy with all this white. It was like a whole other. The first one, let's see what happens. It's ugly babies. Yeah. Basically, it was like whole thing about how not to do it, but it's how because how he is. He's like, I'm sure it's not all. You're like, I'm just kind of not then yeah, he was like, I'm not gonna go around saying I wish you were all 7 foot and 4'3". There is such a great so it does have all right, maybe on the back should and that's not what I use. Well, that's I couldn't be one of that person. Yes, see, Marshall's issue job. The person was we're all just one track or they it's not one time. I don't know, we'll see. Close that out work. You will like sorry, I just forgot. Say something of the go back up to these students like an assignment. Yeah, that was a good one. Because I was just giving you one number because of that and all. How did you? I think it was in or did you? Yeah, just see as me. What is the people? Where is the what? The paintball or so that's actually our paint brush. That's nice stuff. Yeah. Wait, how'd you need? I'm proud to say that. Download the CSV Jackson. It is? Yeah. Download it from yeah. Open the power
In the in the scatter plot, you need to not have sum of checked. So when you add the data to the x-axis and the y-axis, make sure it is not summarized. And where it says to do the paint roller, where was the paint roller comment?
The last one.
Last one on number 2.
Sorry,
On 3. Paint roller. That in ours, that's the little paint brush. It's the second thing in the visuals. It doesn't look like a paint roller anymore. They changed that, but the instructions are from last year and I forgot to change them.
Yeah,
So it's good. There. Oh, not sure. What visual do you want to do, right? With this data. Alright, wait, see, build the data, this, you got up this. And then you go, what? This is probably. See it, right? This is see it. Use other see it. That's when you do it. I how do you? And did you click anything? Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. Just doing some whole things we just put ads already had. I know the professor shows them. Oh, they weird size. You're the scout. Yeah, you've been over there. There's some. Yeah, that's good. See what they do. Thank you. In Russia, because it added them all up. We only have one. Yeah, they're really close to pay. That's product and lies, some of it. They like. No, it is. And two of your orders. So the championship are available. I don't know, see them, should be. I see the system. So what are those bees around that? Oh, that's how those email for place. Oh, no, I can't. That means I have to. Like, how I think, and the one time I ever go to. I'm not gonna help. But you'll be guys. You know, if you said this, I have that place. I think it's every. Oh, so you're playing. So it's actually, you know, with that. Oh, that's what it says. You was laid out plus 2.5. You guessed it, well, last weakness. So they were over plan. So you know, if you have to stop. But if you go over the edge, I don't know if you want that. Right, stop. Right, for the fire truck. In the beach, that's the stop. First, you can only change. Well, if you go to go, it has to go. Like if you know, that's the first scene. It's also they. They have to have. They're like first scene, so down here, that's what I'm for. I didn't like those three one thing, right? It's not right. And you say like 3 seconds. It's five bus balls, 5 seconds. Try to throw some of them. I had deal with a bunch of people where I was a little choosy to make a shot. Smaller. Excuse me. These movies. Every small creature in dollars. I see. Thank you, God. These 4 days for all the little small. 30 seconds. Kids got little drink. Look sad. Yeah. What's getting me? The ladies politics. That's cool. His voice is I'm sure she's so big. Yeah, she's like saved a flat and top of it. Yeah, so like but we still got this in abuse. We can do it here. I mean, although the surrounding won't matter. Now, I'm saying, I'm really. Really, you want to play each of the things. Has the 80s. But as it gets back to normal, how is personnel that's on that. Just call me. Well, you believe that so just. That must last. It's not less, or a. Yes. Sat in strong and I had strong so only one. But there you go. And share. And started taking notes. Yeah. Hey, what I want to do is on this stuff as far as not use the focus. Thank you. You're welcome. The export as a PDF, the export is the arrow in the view mode. Very good message.
So if you're in view, there's export.
That's how you can export as PDF.
Onto our region. They only put the chair region. Yes. I put it yes. What if you do this, man? I it's like that. I said, no, that's yes. We go to something like that. It's not sure that's one. That means. What would say or something? No. So I had a good class. Your jet off. Say everything was it one. You guys like play this one? Hour and a half, 2 hours. We need to get there. You say we I'll get there. We say Right. Really, you got ready to find out. Where the city? So I just saved a quick file, so I'm talking about Tuesday for a game. What? If I was just asking, when I click my workspace and it says module 4 dashboard type report, that means it's published into there, right?
When you click on my workspace and it's down here,
Yeah.
yes, that means it's in that workspace. Okay, hang on a second. Close that, close that, close that. Workspaces, new workspace. I'm just calling it temporary today's date. I haven't checked anything different. Apply. And it built it.
How did you do that? You put new items?
No, I was in workspaces and clicked new workspace.
Oh, I see. Then I may.
And it built it. I don't know what's going on. That's an IT question because that's above my pay grade in terms of why is Power BI doing this? But that's weird. If you can't build it in a separate workspace, build it in your own workspace, in my workspaces, and that's fine. Because you're only gonna send me the PDF. I'm not gonna see the workspace itself. So I understand if you can't actually build a workspace for it. But I'm wondering what's going on. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this workspace. Workspace settings. General. Remove this workspace. Click. Poof. Yeah, so now I only have the one where I did module 4.
The ones only download as a.
Okay, that's because you're downloading. If you actually want to save a file, you don't download with that button here. You go here to export and you export a PDF. As opposed to download a PDF, which is strange, but that's because Power BIX, PBIX, is the built-in format. That way you could send that, somebody else could open Power BI and work on it. But if you send them a PDF, that's that. Gotcha. In this kind of fun, not the summary, it's in the setting, go to the x-axis right there. It's the y-axis. Yeah, don't sum. Otherwise, it's only looking at the sum across all those things. You see where it is. Let's in here. Which ones? Well, make Tuesday, really.
Yes, you can. Is this legit?
I just put all of my child.
And the drill through? Oh, no, this one doesn't. Yeah, we just have to show back.
Low from dry, low from one drive. Yes, yes, but these kind of loaded files made sure it would change the way. So you download it.
That you go like that was. Run that, where it is.
Now, if we go back to our,
You let the cycle was blank.
down. You're welcome. This is, because this is an issue, I'm finding a lot of people who do Chromebooks extensively, is that they usually would drag between applications because there's no hard drive. I can't take from one barricaded website and put to another barricaded website, but my computer. It's a condition of the way you do training computers. You're welcome.
Yeah, and with the also. That's what I'm talking about.
It's a little right pointing arrow next to file.
Probably gonna know.